All right, welcome back. We are going to look at some paycheck stubs now. We have looked at tons and tons of employment verifications. Sometimes we do go ahead and use paycheck stubs. In some states now, we're actually allowed to go directly to the paycheck stubs, which is fantastic. All states are not there yet, so we are still sending out those employment verifications in a lot of places. If you are not able to get the employment verification back within 2 reasonable tries, then you can go directly to your paycheck stubs. Also, if the employer is using work number and you are not a property that pays for that service, then you can clarify to that as well and go ahead and use your paycheck stubs. All right, so paycheck stubs are super easy. They're wonderful to use because you just have to follow a couple of rules. The first being that they have to be consecutive and you have to have at least 6 of them. So that's what we require from an Aspen perspective on our compliance side. So let's take a look first at that first rule and just make sure that all of our paycheck stubs are consecutive. So we want to look at the beginning period, the ending period. The advice date, don't worry about that. All that means is the date that the check was cut. What we want to know is when, what amount of time this paycheck covers. So we are going to look at 4/28 to 5/11. So we're going to want our next paycheck to start on 5/12 as a beginning date. And it sure does. So we have 5/12 to 5/25, paycheck stub number 2. So we're going to want paycheck stub number 3 to start on 5/26, and it sure does, 6/08. So now we're looking for 6/9. We've got it, 6/22. All right, we're looking for 6/23 to 7/06. That is going to be our 5th paycheck stub. We want our next one to be 7/07 to 7/20. Great, so we do have 6 consecutive paycheck stubs that were provided from our applicant. The next rule is that we have to do an average. So we are going to take a look always at gross pay. I did go ahead and circle this and write it in because when it scans in, it can be a little bit fuzzy, so I like to do that. So we're just going to do a simple tape with an average. So $9.91 and 76 cents and plus, so of course you'll have a tape that is actually keeping a calculation. I'm going to kind of just demonstrate what you will be doing. So now we have 809.60, 809 and 60 cents. Oops, plus. All right, we're just going to keep moving along here. Our gross number, 839.96. Okay. $870.32. Right, 728.64. I think we have one more left here at 556.60. Great. So that total is going to equal $4,796.88. All right, so whenever you're doing an average, you want to total the 6 paychecks, and then of course you're going to then divide it by 6 to come up with your average. If anybody has any questions about this, we do have a we do have an Excel spreadsheet that is available on SharePoint that you can use, where you can just put all the numbers in and it will do it for you. You can definitely do that. Some people just prefer to do a quick tape on a simple average. Either way is perfectly fine. So when we divide that by 6, we are going to come up with $799.48. Okay, so now we know what the average of each of these paychecks is. Now we have to determine how often this person is paid. So we are going to take a look at these dates, and it's from 4/28 to 5/11. So that definitely looks like a 2-week period. I like to just hurry and check the next one just to make sure they don't get paid maybe on the 1st and the 15th or the exact same days every month, but that it is a true 2-week. So the 12th and the 25th. It looks like this is definitely a bi-weekly pay. So they get paid every other week. So that's the second thing that we needed to know about this paycheck stub. The other thing that you're going to want to make sure that you take a look at is to see if there are any deductions that could be an asset. So it looks like there's a life trust coming out of here, and it's $1.40. You have your medical, and there is this other trust as well with a few cents in it. So I would be taking a look at the application and having a conversation with your applicant, and just make sure that they're also declaring these type of things on their application. And then of course, if it's over $5,000, then you will need to verify what these things are and how much and what the balance is. So we are going to move along here. So we know that this is bi-weekly. We have our average. The last thing that we're going to want to do in this particular state for the example is we are going to be doing a year-to-date comparison. So you're always going to want to take your year-to-date from your very last paycheck, because that is going to give you your highest number and incorporate as much as possible if there were any kind of tips or overtime or anything like that. It looks like there is a little bit of overtime here. We don't need to calculate this separately because these gross numbers include all of those in our averages. So this is all we have to do is go straight to our year to date here at the 12/6/22.89. The other thing that we're going to want to do is we have to determine when or how many weeks this is made up of. So 12, this is kind of a backwards employment verification. Before, our employer was telling us, and they were taking a look at their last paycheck, and they were giving us this number and then giving us as of this date. Now, we're just simply doing the same thing. So we don't want to use the advice date. We want to use the period end date of the last check. So this is the year to date as of 7/20/2014. All right, so now we have to go to our calculator and take a look at 7/20/2014. And it looks like that is going to be week 29 because that is a Sunday. We're going to go off to the left-hand side. All right, so we have all the information that we need now to go to one site and make a tape. All right, I've just chosen a resident just because this is just an example. So we are going to select Lily Pants on Fire. We are going to put the start date as 1/1/14. This is a certification, so we're always going to use the certification date versus a move-in date. You can use the date, the actual date, calendar date that you're actually working on. All right, so the source of this income was Q4S, and this is a non-federal wage. Oh, lost it for a minute there. All right, so we're going to go straight to our income calculator, and we did determine our year-to-date salary was $12,622.89. And we did determine that it was in 29 weeks based on our calendar. So we are going to put 29 weeks. All right, great. So then we're finished here. We just need to go down and do the comparison. So since we did a tape, we are going to use other, and we're going to use that average that we came up with for the paycheck. So it was $7.99. Take a look at our our calculator. $7.99 and 48 cents was our average of all these 6 paychecks. $7.99 and 48 cents, and that is bi-weekly. So we determined that by looking at those dates. All right, so we are $22,634.15 for the year to date, and $20,786 for the average 6 months on the paycheck stubs. So of course one side's going to take this larger number. They're very close. They agree with each other perfectly fine. So we're going to hit save. All right, so there we have it. That's how you use paycheck stubs versus using the employment verification. So one other thing I want to point out here is if you are in a state that does require you to use that employment verification first, then you do need to document as to why you went ahead and used the paycheck stubs instead. So you are going to make sure that you have a clarification in there. So very simple clarification. Please clarify why using paycheck stubs. Please see facts. They use the work number. We do not pay for that service. And she did include a very nice fact here from the company on their letterhead, which states, we do not verify employment in our office. We use a third party called the work number. So this is all we need to be able to go straight ahead and use those paycheck stubs. If we would have tried to verify via fax and we had 2 failed attempts, reasonable attempts, meaning, waiting a full day in between, then we could just attach those as well, and that would be perfectly fine. All right, the other thing I want to point out is always include a copy of the tape that you made if you're not putting exactly what our auditors can see from the paycheck stubs. They can see nowhere on those paycheck stubs this number of $7.99.48. So they've got to know where you came up with that. That's why sometimes using these, simple tapes are better than using the Excel spreadsheet, but you can do either one. You could attach the Excel spreadsheet behind this. If you use a tape like this, you can just tape it right to the one side calculation, and you'll have everything in one spot. All right, so that's it for paycheck stubs.